there's some news that came out. Jeremy Fowler, man, this dude is just all up on 49 stuff, man. So he comes out with an article basically talking about Jimmy Garoppolo, and good news for the Jimmy Garoppolo camp. It seems like he's ahead of schedule with his rehab. Seems like he will be throwing here in the next couple of weeks, which is a few weeks earlier than expected based off of his original diagnosis. Now, obviously, when Jimmy Garoppolo is ready to start throwing, he's still on the roster. Kyle Shanahan has stated that if he's healthy in training camp, he expects him to be there and will be getting reps. So for the faithful, Wayne, this becomes a very, I guess, tense situation. You know, there's half of the faithful that actually would like to see Jimmy still with the team because they feel like he's a better option than Trey. And then there's the other half, which I think you and I fall into, which thinks it's the time to, you know, cut ties with Jimmy and just give it to the young king Trey and go full-fledged with him. But after hearing this article, what do you make of it? What takeaways did you have about it? And what did it really spark in your brain once you read these comments from Jeremy Fowler?
Yeah, it's a great question because, you know, first of all, I just want to put this out here. There's nothing more than I want Trey Lance to take this team to the next level, right? It's Trey Lance time. It's time for him to get the keys. You do not waste. First of all, you do not waste another year. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Right? On a rookie deal, you do not. I don't care if you get a fifth-year option. You don't waste another year. That's number one. I'm really ready for Trey Lance. But Jimmy Garoppolo is still on the roster. And now he's ahead of schedule. Wait a minute. He's not on schedule. He's ahead of the schedule, right? So he's going to be throwing not in 2 weeks, like it said July, beginning July. So that's this week. That's this week. Right? So
this week.
Right. So now we're talking Jimmy's going to probably be throwing and look for a 4th of July type of story. Why? Fireworks. Just look for something like that pop off. Jimmy Garoppolo being on this roster is an issue, right? And it's an issue in many different facets, right? Number one, the development of Trey Lance. Number two, the fact that you're ready to move on to Trey Lance. You don't want to, you know, have this little locker room thing going on. You know, Jimmy's still here, whatever. But then I look at it like, well, like if Jimmy's here, is it that detrimental to the team as a whole, right? Now, we could factor in the money, $27.5 million, right? We could say that's detrimental to the team, but the team ain't using the damn money this year anyway, right? And so I'm like, well, he would be a hell of an expensive insurance plan. God forbid something happened. He'd be the best backup quarterback in the league, even though I don't think he'll play it down. It's just that he'll be available if he's needed. And, you know, I don't know if it's such a bad idea to keep him now. I don't know. It's weird, right? I don't want him here, but it's like, hey, man, don't nobody else want him. It's like trying to get rid of something nobody else wants, and you might as well just, what's the word, hoard it, store it, right? You know what I'm saying? So, like, and it would be, it's not like you're hoarding a bum. You know, you're hoarding a guy that got you some wins, got you to an NFC championship and to a Super Bowl. And so and here's the issue, right? For me, the owner came out and co-signed the fact that, yo, man, if they want to keep him, I'm willing to pay him. Again, he said that at the owners meeting this year. And so that right there is where I'm so confused. And we try to just bypass it, but we can't bypass that. He said that beginning of last season, and look what happened. We drafted Trey Lance. We still rock with Jimmy. And now the owner's saying it again. Now we've heard Kyle Shanahan say they're ready to move on. You've heard John Lynch say we're excited to see what Trey's going to be able to do. But if no team is if you're fishing Jimmy and no team is biting, let me ask you this question. What would you do? What would Jesus do? I don't know.
So I have a question because and we'll get to that because I think that's a good point that you're talking about. But let's take it from another angle. And the angle that I want to take it from is you're saying, okay, it does make a lot of sense to keep Jimmy, especially with Nate Sudfeld as the backup. If you have a guy like Jimmy, you've already budgeted. The money's already there to pay for him. It's not like you got to pay anybody else, at least this right now, because
Correct.
everybody that they need is already under contract for next season. However, it has been a little bit of a different offseason when it comes to the narrative around Jimmy. Even though in previous seasons that the 49ers had flirted with other quarterbacks and also, you know, in last season, right, drafted another quarterback, there never was any talk about trading or getting rid of Jimmy. It was always about bringing in another quarterback, but there was never specific talk about what they were going to do as far as with Jimmy. Now, this offseason has been quite different, right, Wayne? We've heard Shanahan say they want to trade Jimmy. We've heard Lynch speak about trading Jimmy and looking for offers and things of that nature. So that is a little bit different. Even though I think those other situations in the past were pretty difficult to deal with, how do you think it could work as far as a working relationship when you've in the media spoken about trading this guy and then somehow him needing to come back, be okay with the coaching staff, be okay with the organization that's actively been shopping him? Do you think there's a possibility that that could be a working relationship? Because for however much we respect Jimmy as far as his class, at a certain point you are human, you have emotions and you have an ego, right? You have to have confidence to be a starting caliber quarterback in this league. How can he even come back and work with the team that has just basically this whole offseason talked about getting rid of him?
Yeah, I mean, not only talked about getting rid of him, I mean, they got new coaches ready to move on to coach this new quarterback regime, this new style of offense they're going to be running. Like, they've completely done like a 360 off of Jimmy Garoppolo. To answer your question, though, I don't know, man. I don't know if Jimmy is that strong-minded to be able to work in a situation where his back is like the whole world is against him. What's that? All eyes. I don't know. What,
yeah.
Against all odds. I guess that's what you can say. That would be a nice little story title if Jimmy did choose to stay. But let's ask
me against the world.
Me against the world. Thank you. But what are Jimmy's options, right? And I know I got questions to answer your questions, but I don't really think. I know personally I wouldn't be able to do that. I would just be the bigger person and just walk away and be like, yo, man, I'm going to collect unemployment. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, but for Jimmy, he's a different being. He did it all last season. He knew this time was coming. Like, that's why he gave that farewell speech after the last game of the season. And it was just more like, all right, so Jimmy's moved on. The team has moved on. But then Jimmy throws the surgery curveball. And now he's stuck. He's in a situation where he's got to figure out, like, all right, Don, how can I get up out of this? Because the 49ers have the power again, right? So I see a lot of people saying, well, you just release him. I don't think the 49ers want to release anybody. I don't think the money matters to the 49ers. So releasing Jimmy and not getting anything for Jimmy isn't what the 49ers are going to do. So they're going to have to – for Jimmy, I don't think he can work in that type of environment. If I was Jimmy, I wouldn't want to work in that type of environment. And I'm not even Jimmy, and I wouldn't want him to be in that type of an environment. It wouldn't be healthy for him and his mental. And that would literally be the decline of Jimmy Garoppolo. If he chose to stay here, that would be the decline of Jimmy Garoppolo. Because once you decline here, you already saw how he declined here after the injury. And I'm not talking about the newest injuries. I'm talking about the ACL. He wasn't the same mentally. He was making crazy mistakes. Can you imagine what it would be like if he chose to stay? Be like, yo, it wouldn't be the best situation for him, I don't think.
Right. Well, I mean, he does have 27.5 million reasons to stay, right? That is a lot of money to walk.
He also has to play, though, right? And so that's how the 49ers.
Well, maybe he doesn't, right? If he's a backup, he's not necessarily playing. But I don't think it's going to get to that point to talk about what I think is going to happen, Wayne, and why I'm not too worried about. I'm not too worried about this story coming out. In fact, I think it actually is a good sign for the faithful that are looking for him to move. There was an article that I think went underneath the radar about maybe 3 to 4 weeks ago from Jeremy Fowler as well, where it stated that the 49ers have given Jimmy Garoppolo's agent and his team
to request trades.
Not only request trades, but to start negotiating contracts with other teams. And that's important because why? I think one of the reasons that the 49ers have held on to Jimmy this long is because cutting Jimmy is actually goes against their cap, right? They have to pay 7.5 million injury to Jimmy if they injury settlement to Jimmy if he gets cut and he can't pass a physical. Now, if he's ahead of schedule, which means he can actually pass a physical ahead of schedule, that piece saying that, hey, you could start negotiating with other teams, mixed in with now he may be able to pass a physical early, to me, and Jimmy has come out and said he expects a quick resolution to this. To me, all signs point to the 49ers actually cutting him, with Jimmy already having a deal in place with a team and him signing with them very quickly to be able to get into their training camp at the beginning of training camp for him to start working with his new team towards becoming a starter for them. So that's what I think is happening with everything that's happening here. Because at the end of the day, I think the 49ers, I think when Jimmy decided to do the shoulder surgery, it kind of ruined the 49ers' chances to get any type of trade assets, especially with so many quarterbacks becoming available that weren't necessarily available at the beginning of the season, right? Nobody thought that Matt Ryan was going to be available. Yeah. Nobody thought that Russell Wilson was going to be available. So now when you saw these quarterbacks actually changing teams, it really messed up what Jimmy was there, especially an injured Jimmy. So I don't think that we have much to worry about as far as Jimmy being there in training camp. I think this is just a good sign that Jimmy is going to be able to pass a physical quicker, which makes it easier for the 49ers to cut ties with him without having to pay him that $7.5 million injury settlement. And Jimmy can now go on to his next team and vie for a starting position there.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because once he passes the physical, the 49ers get the whole amount of money back, right? And so maybe then, so there's a lot of stuff with that timetable, though, because you got to factor in Deebo's extension. That $27.5 million is a lot of money, right?
And so, it doubles. So it's like 20. It's around 25 because there is about $2 million in dead cap. Yep. But then the next cap, because if you're 25 million under next year, you can actually go 25 million over the cap. So that actually adds up to around 50 million of cap space that they'll end up getting, which is quite a bit. Not only for Deebo, Wayne, but what a lot of people don't realize, there's a lot of people that are coming up as far as their contract. And not just, guys that like Deebo. We're talking about Mike McGlinchey's coming up. We're talking about Emmanuel Mosley is coming up. We're talking about Jimmy Ward is coming up. Dre Greenlaw, pretty much everybody on the defensive line, Azeez Al-Shaair. So there's a lot of people that the 49ers are going to have to just re-sign next year without talking about actually being competitive in the free agent market if there's anybody they were looking to target there as well. So I do believe that money is a lot more important than any kind of draft capital that they could get, especially with the way their roster is going into as many free agents that they're going to have in next offseason.